interesting introduction for Amrit, which I would love to read. So by way of introduction, Amrit was admitted to the Malaysian bar in October 1998. He has since been actively involved in criminal, civil, and commercial litigation, and in his part-time, Amrit assists in advising numerous non-profitable and charitable organizations in matters concerning law, rights, and liberties. I have also been given to understand that Amrit is the Malaysian bar hockey team's conveyor and captain, and is making an attempt to start teeing off soon in golf without much success. But I'm sure you're great success in all your other endeavors. So if you would please give us a digestible summary of the legal processes involved in child abuse cases. I know that's a tall order because it's super complicated and you have the legislation right in front of you. But if you could give us a sort of crib's note or a dummy's guide to the bare bones of the legal process, that would be much appreciated. So, Amrit?
Yeah, thank you so much. As you all know, lawyers do talk a lot, so you must pause me when I've crossed the line.
Occupational hazard.
There are primarily two concerns. Number one is the child. What happens if there's a child abuse and if we, as an individual, lodge a complaint? And secondly, what happens to us? There are two concerns. The child and me, for example. Now, for the individual who lodges a complaint or initiates a complaint when he suspects or believes that there's a child abuse, he is protected by the Act. And there's a particular Act for this called the Child Act 2001. Section 116 clearly stipulates that there is protection for informers. So do not be afraid. If there's a suspect or a reasonable belief that there's an abuse taking place, you can make that complaint and you will be fully protected, be it in a civil court or in a criminal court. In fact, when a trial goes on, any witnesses that appear in that child abuse case is bound not to disclose the source of the information and the source of the informer that such information came about. So basically, if you do this, there is no exposure or any liability whatsoever. So there's no consequence on any one of us if we reasonably believe or suspect that a child abuse taking place. So as an individual, we are fully protected. So there's no harm, because the normal consequence that people come and ask me is, if I lodge a complaint or I inform the authorities that there's a child abuse taking place, what is going to happen to me? I'm so busy, I can't attend courts, I can't attend courtroom dramas, I don't want to be dragged to the police station, I don't want to give statements, I don't want my life to be jammed up because of this. But it will not happen. Nothing like that will happen to you. So, rightfully with the event tonight, please come forward if you ever believe or suspect that there's a child abuse. Now, secondly, when you lodge this complaint, any one of the individual, what happens now? A complaint can be lodged in two forums, either to the welfare department or to the police. Now, the welfare department has designated certain welfare officers which are referred to as the protectors, and the police themselves. Now, either way a complaint is lodged, immediately this child will be taken into protective custody. And one protective custody is taken over this child. Within 24 hours, this child must be brought forward to a child court, which is presided by a single magistrate and two advisors. Thereupon, immediately, this child court will then make the relevant orders that is necessary and as suggested by the social welfare department, i.e. for medical examination, or this child should be placed in a safe house, in a safe custody, etc., things like that. Now, what is the definition? There seems to be a bit of uncertainty on abuse, neglect and everything. The Act is very, very clear. Section 17 of the Child's Act clearly stipulates that if a child has been abused or substantial risk of a child being abused, either physically or emotionally or sexually. So the definition of the Act is very, very wide. I mean, even if there's a substantial risk of a child being psychologically or emotionally at risk of being abused, even that is sufficient for any one of us to lodge a complaint and immediately for the relevant authorities to take action. Now, getting back, once this complaint has been lodged and this child within 24 hours is brought before a child court, then the child court, the magistrate can actually make an order for this child to be sent for medical examination. That could be physical medical examination, psychological medical examination, etc., etc. Now, once this examination is completed, this child is then immediately brought back again to the courts. And that is when the court will make the necessary order for this child. And orders such as these child can be placed in homes that Marina has visited recently, or even in foster homes, in maybe in institution, training institution for this child. So many things, so many wonderful things can be done for this child. Instead of this child being led to be constantly abused, you can actually get this child out of that environment and to be placed in a more healthier and a more safer environment. So basically that's the legal process that we have. Now the definition of a child is anyone who's below 18 years. That is the definition under the Act. Any person who's below 18 years is defined as a child. So anyone within this age category that you see, anyone 12 years, 13 years, 8 years or 9 years, anything like that, you can make these phone calls. And now that we have this helpline, I mean, you can actually make the phone call there, give particulars of the house address, the child's information, the parents' information, and then let these relevant police officers or these relevant protectors to go into mode, to go and investigate this, because there is no liability on your part whatsoever. So reasonable suspect will be sufficient, more than sufficient. I mean, that's what the process is all about. I mean, the legal process. And we must acknowledge that the government has been far-sighted. Although we are doing this today in 2010, the Child Act has been passed in 2001. This has been foreseen long time ago. I mean, so but it's important for society to be informed, to relevant ministries, to the relevant NGOs, activists and everything to come forward and to let public and society know that, look, you as an informer, you will be protected, and more importantly, the child will be protected, and there are procedures in the law to ensure that the best interest of the child will always be looked into. Thank you.
Thank you, Amrit. Marina, would you like to comment on that?